Leg day. Check out my legs. Great legs. See that leg? That leg goes all the way down to my elbow. Woo! There are 2 leg days in this program every week. One of them has a quad glute focus, one of them has more of a hamstring focus. Tuesdays and Fridays are typical leg days, and you can't skip them. This is the key to unlocking as much fat burn as possible. So after my standard stretch routine with a roller, I go into a whole bunch of different stuff that I do to set my legs up for a good leg day. I go into kind of mountain climber style work that you can see now to kind of set my hips up for a lot of free range in motion. I use a Bosu to start engaging my core and start really switching on my postural muscles, because I like getting under the rack and doing squats, and this is a great way to start waking up your body. The next thing I do to warm up is about proprioception. So you don't have to use the Bosu, but I do suggest doing a little bit of single leg work before you get under the rack, whether you use a TRX to help balance you, whether you use just the flat ground, standing on a bench to give your other leg some space, or if you'd like to stand on a Bosu like I do, it's one of the better ways to kind of warm up all of those fast twitch muscle fibers in your ankles, knees, hips, lower back, all that sort of important stuff. So I go through some single leg squats and some RDLs, some Romanian deadlifts to warm up my hamstrings as well. It's all really an important part of keeping your core nice and hot as well. Finally, the last part is about stimulating my central nervous system by doing hip thruster work. As you can see, landing into a nice squat position there from hip thrust, propelling myself up off the floor so I land into a nice squat, and that's just about getting my hip flexors working fast and firing my central nervous system. Then I like to go into some box jump work. I like the plyometric stuff. I'm not the world's best at it, but you got to practice to get perfect. And as you can see, there's a bunch of different phases as part of any good box jump. There is the loading phase where your hands should be behind you, stacked low into your heels, before you spring into a fully extended position for that box jump. At the top of your fully extended position for a box jump, you need to whip your knees up towards your chest to create space for your feet to get onto that box as high as possible. The last thing I do to kind of prep my legs for leg day is go through leg extensions, leg curls and calf press for about 3 sets of 15 on every one of those motions, so that there's plenty blood in my legs. Right, you are definitely hot by the time you've finished all of that, and that is a longer warm-up than I do for any of my other days, but legs is the largest muscle group and it involves a lot of lower back and core strength as well, so it's really important your whole body is nice and hot. After that, I get under the bar and I start doing some squats. I start light, then I go heavy, and then I come down to my working weight. Now it's important you try that, going light, then heavy, and then coming down to your working weight, because I want to stimulate my central nervous system to know that actually the weight that I often lift for strength phases is way heavier than what I intend on doing for hypertrophy. But if you go straight up to your hypertrophy weight and stay there, it's just going to feel heavy on your back. And yeah, a sweet here and there is not too bad for intra-workout sugars. I just had 2 of those sweets because a friend passed them to me in the gym. Then I get into some squats that are really focused on hypertrophy. I aim to maintain 8 to 12 reps on 110 kilo squats. I only really want to come down to about 90 degrees because that's where my quads will stay engaged. Any lower than that, and I start getting into more of a powerlifting technique, and that's not the point of this routine. The point of this routine is to stay as aesthetic as possible during a cut. Okay, so you can see I've opted for it's pretty much a low bar squat, but here's a little tip for you. When you're squatting, keep a t-shirt on if you sweat. I sweat a lot, and I'd taken my t-shirt off by this point in the workout, which meant that my back was slippery and the bar was moving, which is just a nightmare for maintaining good form. So once I'm into my working weights for legs, doing proper squats for 8 to 12 reps, I superset that with a straight leg deadlift, and I'm on a platform for the straight leg deadlift because in this position I'm flexible enough to pass my feet, and I want to get as full a range as possible in this motion. Technique tip: try and thrust your chest forward as you're doing this to maintain as flat a back as possible. Only go down as low as you can whilst maintaining perfect posture. If your back starts to curl, either drop the weight or reduce the range, but don't perform that exercise with shit technique. It's just not worth it. You'll ruin your back and you won't engage your hamstrings, and that's the whole point in the exercise. So after 4 working sets of squats and straight leg deadlifts, we go into heavy dumbbell step ups. Now that's 40 kilos in each hand, that's 80 kilograms, that's body weight. If you can do this with your body weight, it's ideal. It's supposed to be an uncomfortably heavy exercise that puts a lot of strain on your posture as well as your legs. And because it's so heavy, I am using wraps. I don't want my grip to be the reason why I can't complete the required reps. But what I'm trying to do here is 8 reps per leg. So 8 reps on one leg, then I put that leg down, 8 reps on the other. And what I want you to think about whilst you're doing this exercise is driving the floor away from you with your heel first. So drive the floor away with your heel. Think about pushing your butt forward as you move to the top of the range of motion and squeezing your glutes once you're on the step. Try not to let your knee jerk forward over the top of your toe. That's going to be bad form. It's going to be bad for your ACL in particular. Superset this with a basic hamstring curl on the machine just to stimulate as much blood as I can into my hamstrings because they're a lagging muscle for me in my legs. We do 5 sets like that and then go into calf raises on the Smith machine. This is not about using as much weight as possible. This is about volume, and again, this is supersetted. So I train my calves in a number of ways. Some days I go for weight, some days I go for volume. Today I was going for volume, so after high volume set under the Smith machine, I went to a body weight, calf raise, just using any platform that gave my heels some space to move. And it burns like hell. Keep going until you have to do a stupid dance. After leg day on this occasion, we were all pretty tired, so what we did was crank the treadmill up nice and high and go for a long walk for about half an hour. It's my least favorite way to do cardio. It's the least effective way to burn fat out of HIIT training and list training, but some days needs must. I was exhausted, my legs were fucked after that workout. So it was just a case of staying on that treadmill for as long as I could before I lost my mind, which was about 35 minutes in. Like I say, if you can get HIIT training done even on leg day, then rather do that. Get on a bike, get on a cross trainer, but ideally get those rounds of HIIT in. They're a much more effective way to burn fat and maintain muscle than LISS. And that's your leg day. It's 1 of 2 on your program for this 6-week cut, and it shouldn't be easy. You should be struggling, you should be screaming through all of it. Your warm-up should feel like a workout, because by the time you get under the bar, you should have pre-fatigued your legs. Alright, now hit subscribe so you're always informed. I'm going to be updating this channel regularly with nutrition information for you, with kettlebell technique. Head over to Instagram and find Glenn Weinstein Fitness and hit follow for bite-sized bits of information. Then head over to Twitter and find Glenn_PT. Once you found Glenn_PT, head back to Facebook and find Glenn Weinstein Fitness. Follow that too, then come back over to YouTube and watch more videos of me, because why not?